Imitating a chameleon again, Mr. B.
In a nutshell, Mrs. M. That is precisely what I am doing. Spot on. Chameleonidy.
Can't argue with that. I'm no expert. It's improving, but you're not fooling anyone.
Don't be too sure, Mrs. Morris. My recent calculations suggest there's one born every 36 seconds.
Chameleons.
Clots, Mrs. M. Fools. Lots of clots. An overabundance.
Can't argue with that either. Forgive my curiosity, but why do it? Why pretend to be a chameleon?
Good question. I view it as something rather like the activities of those meditation wallahs out east, a difference of perspective, a radical change of pace, unusual exercise, who knows? I might evolve a convenient capacity to blend unnoticed with the surroundings.
Not much chance of that, particularly in here, and even more particularly crawling around some sweaty tropical jungle. A baggy suit and tie won't help in the jungle either.
Mayhap you are right, in which case, good vintner, I'll console myself with another large one of those laddies, the Scotch, if you would mind. God bless and good luck.
On your tot tonight.
Expecting a chum any inst, Mrs. M. A fellow wayfarer. K. Charming girl. We shall reminisce, hit the spirituous beverages, stimulate the local economy and rail against societal injustice.
And pretend to be a lizard.
Every possibility. Every.
Keep yourself nice, Mr. B.
Your obedient servant, Mrs. M.
You're in here doing something.
So I am. Your perception does you naught but credit, comrade. Wonderful to see you. Do excuse me. I'm honing my chameleon.
Right. I should have guessed.
An enigmatic creature by any standards.
Right. Chameleon. Course.
Exactly. Not unlike myself, the friendly chameleon enjoys excellent eyesight. I have been known to spy with my little eye, as I think you are aware. Where are my manners? May I assist you to slake the old thirst?
Yes. Please. Thank you. Please.
What'll it be?
Right. What? Cider. Cider, please. Thanks, comrade.
Grab a pew. I'll be right with you.
Thanks. Right. I'll grab one. A pew.
Emma. M. When you're ready, M. Love. Delighted to see you again.
Likewise.
Things were just warming up at Scarborough.
Conference can get a bit warm. Heated even. Socially. Intellectually.
Very true, and we were separated in that warming throng.
I hope you don't mind me asking.
Almost certainly not.
Mr. Bettaney, why are you pretending to be a chameleon exactly? Comrade?
Fascinating creatures. They used to say I was like a chameleon.
Who did?
Colleagues, cops, newspaper hacks, anyone short of an intelligent contribution to the conversation. Such persons abound.
The resemblance isn't obvious.
It was my wondrous capacity to blend amiably and effortlessly with all strata of society. High and low, all nations, races, creeds and colors, rich and poor, brilliant and barking. I strive to improve that capacity visually.
All strata except colleagues, cops, newspaper hacks and stupid chatterers.
What can I do for, Mr. B?
Same again for my good self M and a pint of cider for my young friend.
Half's fine.
Hello, dear. You'd be a visitor to our fair town, I imagine. City girl.
Through and through.
Welcome to our humble rustic hostelry. Take care with this one, love. Much more giggle juice and he'll think he's licensed to spill.
What? Spill what?
You must know he's Hertfordshire's answer to James Bond. 003, license to spill the beans, spill his drink, whatever can be spilled. Just my warped sense of humor, K. Nothing more. We all go a bit dollally in the licensed premises game. I put it down to the stress and the fumes, and we all know about Michael's not very mysterious background round here.
Not everything, M.
Too bloody much, if you ask me.
Tar. We should have a serious natter. You can fill me in on all the gory details.
You're not a bloody reporter. Are you?
Not on your Nelly.
Or mine.
Good. Can't stand them.
Nellies?
Reporters.
Capitalist running dogs, enemies of the people.
Wouldn't be at all surprised. Shitehawks to a man.
And woman. Speaking of your life.
Time enough for that, dear heart. Pressing matters. Press.
What?
Your exceeding good health, comrade.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Michael.
Guilty.
Did you
Probably.
mention my name to the woman behind the bar at all?
To Emma? M?
Yes.
Not that I recall.
She knew it.
I noticed.
Yeah. Funny peculiar that.
Maybe I did let it slip.
And the name?
Ha ha, very droll.
Maybe I'm just a bit jumpy, but it did seem slightly queer.
A tad.
Probably just being paranoid.
I am always deeply suspicious of everyone. In my former line of business, they used to say that if you're not paranoid, you're not paying attention. As a consequence, I try to pay attention, and as a consequence, I'm deeply suspicious of everyone. Always.
And you also seem suspicious to most people.
Very funny. And very probable. Trust no one.
I rarely do.
Just because you're paranoid, it doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
True.
She knows a lot of the story. M. Most of them do around here by now. I am a notoriously social animal and can become somewhat communicative. I have communicated with numerous residents from time to time.
Do the locals care?
About the communication?
About your shady past?
Some think it lowers the tone and the property values.
Does it?
There's every possibility, but subject to the vagaries of the Official Secrets Act, my life is an open book.
That's quite a subject to be subject to. That's no secret.
You say sooth, comrade, and the vagaries are, by definition, not without their unpredictable aspects.
Speaking of your life, Michael.
As I do almost incessantly.
I'm very glad you do. We have communicated, so you know I want to write an authorized biography. Your authorized biography.
I do, and am greatly flattered by your interest, but first. Desperate man here, M. K?
Not for me, thanks. I've hardly started this.
Stick around, comrade, we'll have you match unfit in no time.
Is this your local boozer then?
Pretty much. Marion and I haunt a modest house just around the corner, and every man needs a hobby.
By all accounts, you've had a few.
Nice segue. I'll have to keep my wits about me, or those old familiar beans will be everywhere.
How about your chum?
I understand that Kay is happy, as am I, for the moment. The night is young. Many thanks.
Small thing, Michael.
Who's been talking?
Can we avoid the blokey smut for a bit?
You started it.
Me?
Maybe I did let it slip.
Oh, that, fair enough. But there is something, one of several things, puzzling me.
Fire ahead.
Don't mean to pry.
As it happens, I usually do.
Him. Jack the lad over there. The dummy. What's his story?
Him? That's Jay. Always here. Never says a word, funnily enough. Rumor has it he's a scornful tribute, if that's the word, to Emma's ex-husband. It didn't end well, I'm told.
M's XJ. Bit odd.
Wouldn't know K. M's XJ, K, eh? I keeps me nose clean. There's nowt so queer as folk. There are always people watching. Often dummies. Always. Spying on one's every action. Sometime they are fake people. Often.
All the world's a stage.
Significant areas of it are, and there are furtive little buggers in the audience watching every move we make. Bloody critics.
You spent some time playing to that audience.
Little is sacred and nothing is secret, particularly in the Secret Service. Why do you think Le Carre called it the circus?
I thought it was because old George Smiley and the gang hung out in Cambridge Circus.
That as well. Most of the published fiction about spies is unmitigated nonsense, of course. Piffle, balderdash, unmitigated drivel, tosh.
You seem a bit tepid on the biography idea, Michael.
A bit. It's all been said. Very little of what should be said. All that can be said.
You are pulling my pin.
Not guilty, Your Honor. Your pin is a virtual stranger to me. I wouldn't dream. K, I have never had any intention to go into print. I hate publicity.
Beg your pardon, comrade, but with all due respect, that's bollocks.
I'm not used to much in the region of respect. I'm all too familiar with bollocks, but I'll give you a rough outline of my highlights.
That's a start.
Let's hope it's a finish. Are you sitting comfortably?
Not particularly.
Then I'll begin. Name, Michael Bettaney, unmarried, working class boy.
You don't sound much like a working class.
Let me remind you, comrade, that, for most of my life, when not banged up in Swaleside, I have kept company with some of the nation's most pretentious, affected, supercilious snobs. It can rub off, even with the best of us, which I do not claim to be. To resume, if I may, working class boy, born 1950. Improbably enough read English at Oxford, more improbably, and more than enough. Signed on with the nation's security services in 75, insubordinate idealist I, gathered top secret bump to share with like-minded KGB chums. As much miffed, collar firmly felt and arse soundly kicked in 1983 and, the following year, sentenced to 23 years as a guest of HM Queen. Got out in 1997. Marxist, to the core. To the surprise of many, also devout Catholic.
You what?
Yeah. I know. Many are surprised.
Well, I bloody am. How do you account for that?
I'm not sure that I do. I am. Anyway.
If I may say so, comrade, I'll be buggered.
If you must say that, feel at liberty to do so. It's hardly a free country, but if you must. Anyway, that's the old curriculum vitae.
Is it a structure thing? The Catholic stuff? Order? Discipline? A framework of belief? Rules? Structure? Regulations?
Perhaps all of the above and more.
Christ, mate.
Exactly. The fact is I happen to believe in Father, Son, and Holy Ghost and diligently strive to behave according to the standards established by that Holy Trinity.
I don't mind telling you, comrade, that I find it absolutely incomprehensible that you should swallow that oppressive, superstitious crap.
And I don't mind telling you, comrade, that I hear of your incomprehension without surprise, but with dismay, and will pray for you.
Fuck.
If I may resume my brief CV and, one hopes, get that detail over and done with. Bettaney M. currently lives in gentilish poverty in the charming Hertfordshire town of Ware with sympathetic research scientist Marion Johnston, who wrote copiously and regularly visited the odious criminal while he languished in the clink. That about sums it up, really. Few.
You make it sound peculiarly ordinary, but, let's be honest, few doesn't really cover it.
You could be right.
You pleaded guilty to all charges.
K.
Why didn't you fight? Why give the rotten system a free pass?
A get-out-of-jail-free card?
Something like that. Why?
Well, at the time, I believed I would be swapped. Spy swaps, or prisoner swaps, had happened before, and I was looking forward to a life in Moscow. I thought I would be out of jail quite quickly, so the last thing I wanted was a lengthy trial. Plead guilty. Do a few months in prison and then free to enjoy the delights of Russia. It did not turn out like that. There was a change in the political atmosphere, and suddenly spy swaps were completely off the agenda.
You poor sod.
Instead of a relatively comfortable life, I ended up locked away in what it doesn't take much imagination to think of as a wholly unpleasant environment.
Was it? As it turned out, was it disagreeable?
Usually. Compared to the myrmidons of British intelligence, however, one tends to meet a relatively decent class of person in Her Majesty's secure accommodation. By Jove, I needed that.
You certainly made short work of it.
And you're making heavy weather of that. Can I get you something else? Wine? Brown ale? Bloody Mary? Holy water?
I should get you one. Same again?
No, allow me. I'm the semi-professional piss artist around these parts.
Let me get just one round. I'll feel bad if I don't.
One.
Maybe. M. When you're free.
You're a fast learner.
I try.
Like a judge?
More like a front row forward. Thanks, M. Michael's obviously irregular.
And regularly he's as irregular as dodgy clockwork. But he does amuse locals, sometimes, some of them, a bit.
I'm researching for a book. I want to be a writer.
Then you've got my sympathies. I believe it's a tough row to hoe. Give us a yell if he starts any nonsense. Any more nonsense.
Thanks.
He does nonsense more than most. You might have noticed. I take it you've seen his chameleon.
It's a bit unnerving.
No argument here.
Michael, comrade, about the biography.
Men of England, wherefore plough for the lords who lay ye low? Wherefore weave with toil and care the rich robes your tyrants wear? Wherefore feed and clothe and save from the cradle to the grave those ungrateful drones who would drain your sweat, nay, drink your blood?
Good question.
Shelley,
Mary?
Percy,
By all accounts, he was actually a right bastard.
more left-leaning than most, but yes, something of a bar steward. Not a patch on Byron's bastardry, of course, but Lord George was outstanding in his field, like a purple cow.
And unlike a chameleon, they blend. Famous for it. Comrade, we'd be kidding ourselves to think there was any serious money in this biography, but you've got a great, terrible, tragic tale to tell. Let me help you tell it. You're the victim in this saga, this epic of injustice. Don't you think the world needs to know your side of the story?
I don't think the world gives a tuppence a halfpenny toss one way or the other.
There's already interest from sympathetic publishers.
Thought they were extinct.
Not quite. Ray Braithwaite came up with the idea in the first place. He's keen as mustard. Slipped me 50 quid to cover today's expenses. Nearly fell off me hobnail boots.
50 smackers? Wonderful. I'll have a double.
A double?
Joking, Kay. Just joking, for now.
Comrade, seriously, I see this book, your story, as a valuable weapon in the international fight against oppression.
Little old me? Sounds terribly impressive. Whoever would have thought? Look, Kay, as I said, I am flattered by your interest, but these days, I'm more interested in the quiet life. Finding a ruddy job would be a help. Currently paying the gas bill is much more important than palm greasing the old bill. If you want to write about the twilight zone of the Secret Service, there's stacks of first-rate material out there. There's a lot of crap as well, but I'm sure you can distinguish one from t'other. The whole farcical Secret Service spy thing has been a total schmozzle from the outset. Accountable to none, narcissists, bullies, blowhards, and buffoons left, right and center, and that's not just from a political perspective. Why not open the idea out a bit? Try a slightly different point of view. The Secret Disservice. You could save yourself a world of grief, and I could certainly give you some tips. Anonymously, of course. MI6 could, and almost certainly would, make your life a thoroughgoing misery if it thought I was involved.
I could use a nom de plume.
Seriously, Kay, there are legions of profoundly uncivil servants lurking out there. They're answerable to no one, monotonously hostile, and have nothing better to do than be a constant and colossal pain in the arse to people like you and me. In most cases, that profound incivility is the only profound thing about them. And, as I said, I'd gladly give you some tips for the book.
What sort of tips did you have in mind?
Don't back horses.
Laugh? I almost started.
What about Vernon Kell?
What about him?
What do you know?
Not much. Didn't he set up MI5?
Pretty much. They called him K, like he was just one letter. You've got more, I believe.
K, M, one letter K, M's X, J. It's like alphabety bloody spaghetti round here.
Sounds like Soviet counter-espionage in Gower Street on Friday afternoon, but an even better bet for your book.
This might be sounding increasingly like your book, Mr. Bettaney, even if it's not a biography.
An even better bet for your book might be Mansfield Smith coming. He was the inspiration for James Bond's M.
Another bloody letter.
Another bloody nutter. He was known as C.
Christ Almighty.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
Shalt I not?
No. Anyway, Smith Cumming was known as C, and all the MI6 heads were known as C thereafter.
Not M?
Nope. She runs the pub.
Michael.
In 1909, Smithcoming founded what became MI6 and ran it until he popped his clog in 1923.
Just one clog?
He had a wooden leg. He might have had 2 clogs for all I know, but like so much of absolutely no consequence whatsoever, the footwear issue is almost certainly an official secret.
I've probably seen the name somewhere, but apart from this shadowy secret clog issue, what's the story with your so-called Mr. Mansfield Smithcoming, alias C, alias M?
Captain Sir Mansfield Smithcoming to you, young lady.
Sounds posh.
Quite posh. Jollied things along in the early 20th century, wore a gold-framed monocle, always carried a sword stick and always wrote with green ink. Compulsive womanizer, loved gadgets and would take kiddies for rides in his own private tank.
Tank. An actual tank. Broom broom, bang bang tank.
Tank. Broom broom, bang bang tank.
Sounds like a bundle of laughs. Who owns the tank? What private individual actually owns a bloody tank?
Well, Captain Sir Mansfield Smithcoming certainly did, but it wasn't his sole mode of transport. Jolly old Smithcoming would whiz around MI6 corridors on a child's scooter and, among his many notable achievements, I know not how and would probably prefer not to, discovered that seamen makes excellent invisible ink.
Seamen? Sailors? How?
Not exactly. More like seminal fluid, ejaculate, spunk.
You are pulling my plonker.
No, but Mansfield must have pulled his quite a lot.
As you said, every man needs a hobby.
He crashed his Rolls-Royce outside Paris in 1914 and always claimed he amputated his own partly severed leg with a penknife, so he could crawl to his dying son and wrap him in a blanket.
Surely not.
Probably not, but he would frequently freak out visitors to his office by stabbing himself in the discreetly trousered wooden leg with a paper knife. He'd stab himself regularly before hopeful job applicants, and if, not unnaturally, they recoiled in horror or alarm, they'd automatically get the old heave-ho right out the door. No job for the squeamish. Quite how he managed the scooter with a wooden leg eludes me, but, by all accounts, he did.
Sounds like a serious weirdo.
Serious. Must have scared the living daylights out of the secretaries as he howled around the corridors. Tally-ho, yoicks, all that damned huntin', shootin', fishin' nonsense.
So what about Vernon Kell?
Unsurprisingly, he was also mad as a hatter and source of many ripping yarns from the wonderful world of international espionage. Great fodder for your mighty bestseller.
I'm all ears.
Not quite. Beverage, unsatisfactory?
Not at all, thanks. I'll sit on this. Can't keep up with your cracking pace.
Making up for lost time. The scotch available within Her Majesty's prison service was almost invariably ghastly.
You rang, sir.
Didn't quite get round to it, M, but your timing is impeccable and I'll have another, if it please you.
Your associate.
Lagging alarmingly. Don't know what's happened to the younger generation. In my day we'd 3 sheets to the wind by now.
It's the drugs, of course. Curse of today's honest publican.
I didn't know you indulged.
Silly sod, wouldn't touch them with yours. Them drugs are the curse of England's depressingly sober, but alarming youth.
I don't think Kay's a desperately addled substance abuser exactly. Not noticeably spotty either.
I hope you're right, Mr. B, for everyone's sake.
She's in an odd mood.
She's not alone.
You should, indeed must, understand, Kay, that almost everything our calamitously incompetent, erratic and eccentrically dangerous intelligence services leaked about me, gave us so-called evidence or put out to their slimy newspaper chums concerning me was consistently absolute balderdash. About as much intelligence as the average house brick, and the only service performed by these odious creatures of the demimonde was self-service.
Example?
I have learned from bitter experience, let caution ever be your watchword. As I believe I mentioned before, for your own good and mine, trust no one.
You did mention that.
Dear girl, please understand that, from the outset, I was driven by politics, always. And that political motivation was the loftiest, selfless aspiration seeking nothing but the greatest good for the greatest number. It was ever thus with me.
I don't doubt it for a moment.
That idealism, of necessity, had to be besmirched, polluted and sullied with tales of sinister intent, greed, excess and madness by our chums aligned with the forces of oppression.
Oh. Them. And?
I'll give you a particularly sordid example of what we're up against here.
Feel free.
Miss Hilda Murrell.
Good old Hilda.
Not anymore.
Okay. I'm hooked. I'm easily hooked.
Hilda, God bless her, was a relatively sprightly 82-year-old who grew roses at her bucolic residence in Shropshire.
Nice.
Not nice as it transpired. Not nice at all, for reasons that defy sane and possibly even insane explanation. Hilda was the victim of a spectacular MI5 cock-up in the mid-1980s. A loud and loquacious opponent of the nearby Sizewell nuclear power station. Hilda was kidnapped from her tastefully appointed rustic home by our covert guardians, bundled into her own car, driven through the town and left some miles away, stabbed several times in the abdomen. The local cops did a cheerful nothing when her car was reported damaged at the roadside and, when her body was found nearby, instantly declared that she was the victim of a common burglar. All things considered, it would have been a rather uncommon burglar. The theory was that she came home unexpectedly, disturbing and panicking, freelance agents giving her subversive den the once-over.
That's appalling.
It is, and it has got to be worth a chapter in your scathing indictment of this and that. Perhaps 2 chapters and a footnote or twain. But to return to my favorite subject, back in '82 my clueless masters thought it highly amusing, given my well-known conversion to communism, to dump me in the septic tank of Soviet counter-espionage in the outlying pickets of civilization, alias the Gower Street office. According to those aforementioned tiresome forces of O, I nicked a pile of top-secret British piffle and shoved selected highlights, unannounced, through the front door of London's local KGB bigwig Arcady v. Guck.
A good old English name.
I was ratted out, as they say in the classics, to MI6 by a double agent called Gordievsky. I was already packed and about to fly the coop to Vienna, city of my dreams, with further secret installments for our Soviet colleagues when PC Plod came knocking. My collar was firmly felt and the wretched slammer beckoned. Actually, the arresting officers were considerably beyond the rank of PC, but they plodded nonetheless. I got 23 years and learned Russian listening to Radio Moscow. Who says prison serves no constructive purpose?
So where were the prominent areas of bullshit in that tale?
I absolutely reject the shamefully disparaging MI6 notion that, like a rank amateur, I simply stuffed the contentious documents through old Guck's letterbox unannounced. Pure invention. In point of fact, Arcady and I had quite a sophisticated little setup to transfer the so-called top-secret matter. Top secretly. The whole business became quite, how shall I say, cinematic at times. Hey-ho.
And I suppose you reject all that guff they touted about you covering up being caught pissed in the street and yelling, "You can't arrest me, I'm a spy," at the old Bill?
Rejected instantly and almost completely.
Almost.
I was arrested, but yelled nothing of the sort. Between you, me, and the listening devices, I doubt that I was capable of yelling anything coherent at all. Like any other drunk and disorderly citizen, I was fined and admonished by the beak. End of story. The follies of latish youth.
And you deny getting caught trying to fiddle railway fares?
You know more than you let on.
I've just let on.
True.
I'll have another go. You apparently reject, almost completely, the abundance of highly prejudicial prosecution piffle about staggering around pissed on the Queen's Highway and you're having a bob each way on trying to fiddle railway fares.
Prejudicial prosecution piffle indeed. Entirely irrelevant. Being pissed in the street, regularly and often, was near as damn it part of any MI6 job description. I don't think I could name a single colleague who wasn't pissed in the street at some point, and as far as trying to fiddle railway fares goes, well, doesn't everybody? Hardly the sort of thing to drive a decent chap to betraying his country, or even his neighbour's garden shed. As I murmured earlier, I was driven by the politics.
Exclusively?
I hope you're not covertly interviewing me.
Hope springs eternal. Internal. No, Michael, not really. I'm just interested, asking, fascinated, concerned. I wouldn't be here otherwise. It's way off my usual beat. There have been stories.
There always are.
About you. Odd stuff, comrade.
More stories than the Bodleian Library.
that you used to goose step around the pubs of Oxford like a stormtrooper spouting Nazi propaganda and singing the Horst Wessel song. Student larks? More follies of youth?
Yes, well, you might say that.
I did. Why would you do that, comrade? Everyone says you're highly intelligent, weird but highly intelligent. Why would a highly intelligent student at Oxford University spout Nazi propaganda?
Why?
That's the question.
In a nutshell, I'd say it was down to spectacular ignorance, really.
Can ignorance, spectacular or otherwise, be an excuse for shouting Nazi nonsense?
Perhaps not completely, not in every case, but it can certainly explain to some extent. I would like to think that, in my case, comrade, that early lamentable ignorance has been significantly corrected. At the time, knowing no better, I believed the damnable lies of the lunatic right, foolishly thinking they offered our nation precious hope in a time of great change and turmoil, and that vile philosophy was altogether for the best. Best for the nation, best for all concerned. That was before I learned better.
And you actually are a Catholic. Practicing. Religious. Devout. You believe religious bull.
I most assuredly am. And do. The Church offers real hope. It is for the best, for the nation, for all concerned, and, frankly, I have never learned of a better, more compassionate, more practical system of belief.
Good God.
Good God is on our side, comrade. I do believe that. God, by definition, is good.
He doesn't lend much of a helping hand in the ongoing struggle.
I disagree. Satan is a smart and slippery customer and requires skilled and careful management. Do you want food?
Is it good?
I would not go quite that far. Hardly God good. It is adequate.
Loaves and fishes?
Mockery ill becomes you.
Would you do it again?
Eat the pub food?
You, Mr. Bettaney, can be bloody evasive. Or is it bloody silly?
Thank you. Possibly both. Contrary to rumor, and somewhat depending on which side of the fence you linger on, I was wholly competent in my cloak and dagger dealings, but, unfortunately, upset a few too many officious blockheads. Evasion is a core skill. Being bloody silly can also be a significant asset.
If you had the chance, would you pass national secrets to, say, the again?
I can assure you, I won't get the chance. With regard to the local comestibles, I believe the pork pies are passable.
From what I can see, there's plenty of pork pies everywhere.
Sorry?
Pork pies. Lies. Rhyming slang.
Yes. Of course. You grew up in.
A hurry.
Right. Didn't we all?
Bit like fiddling the railways.
Anyway, can I tempt you? Food?
No. No thanks.
Drink?
Sorry. Still going here. I'll warm up in a bit.
And I will warm up now, if you'll excuse me.
Consider yourself excused.
I wish I could.
Catholic guilt?
Nothing so specific.
The filth doesn't bug you, does it?
Which particular class of filth did you have in mind?
The cops, Rozzers, the old bill. Are you targeted?
Not conspicuously. Who knows who or what lurks in the shadows?
Lurkers?
Remember, trust no one. Lurkers in particular. M. When you are ready, love.
You're a relief.
Sorry.
It's getting a bit too bold and blokey out there for my taste. I'm in urgent need of a peaceful hideout before I say or do something I probably wouldn't regret in the slightest.
I know that feeling. Welcome. Grab a pew.
Thanks.
I'm Kay.
Denise. Denise last. Friends call me Dee.
Whoa. That's a bit bloody odd.
Why so?
I'm all for friendship and solidarity, but I'll hang fire of the DD thing if you don't mind, Denise.
I beg your pardon.
My buddy Michael, over there, and I have been slightly freaked by the swarm of single-letter names that keep cropping up in this neck of the woods. We were talking about it a few minutes ago.
Sorry, I don't.
It's cloak and dagger stuff. Spies.
Secret agents known only by one letter.
M, C, J, K, X, Y,
Z. Silly stuff.
You turn up and you're DD.
Hi. I'm Dee. Denise last. Nice to meet you. I'm hiding from the boisterous boys next door.
I do not doubt that they are relentlessly tiresome.
I'm K, actually 4 whole letters, K, A, Y, E, but it comes out as one.
Then there was another enigmatic bloke Michael was on about known as K, just the single letter K. Don't look now, but that sad old stuffed geezer over there is apparently J, 3 letters I guess. He's allegedly a piss take aimed at the pub landlady's ex. She's called M, short for Emma, and, one way or another, there's been a few other single letter human labels lurking in the undergrowth. At least DD's 2 whole letters, I suppose. Means nothing in the great scheme of things, of course, but it is a weird coincidence.
I am Michael.
Kay said.
Greetings, DD.
He gets several letters. Bloody patriarchy.
Forgot to mention, I worked with Department F for a while. That was with MI5.
Oh, do shut up for Christ's sake. I'll stick with the simple, non-spooky Denise if you don't mind. For reasons I won't bore you with, we even started nattering about James Bond's boss M. Bond. James Bond. His boss was called M.
007, the secret agent, you mean?
The very same.
Were you licensed to kill, Michael?
If I could do it undetected.
And, according to Michael, some nutty old real-life bloke who once ran the Secret Service was apparently a C.
Right. Yes. Right. I've heard that.
Indeed?
Only had one leg. Big on masturbation.
Just the usual please, M.
Why all the Secret Service spy talk?
Why? Well, Michael's got a bit of relevant history. Civil service stuff. Different stuff. British intelligence.
Really? Civil service?
Kinda. I'm interested in his story.
I'm intrigued.
I want to write a book about him.
Must be more than just a bit of history.
Discretion is my middle name.
No way.
Sussed. It's Viv really. Vivian.
Thanks. You've made an old man very happy.
I bet you say that to all the girls.
A select few, M. A select few. Hello. That's a formal hello.
Hello to you.
Nice to meet you. To what do we owe the pleasure?
Denise is a damsel in distress.
Indeed?
I'm seeking refuge from the yobs getting stuck in next door. They're getting well pissed and it's all getting way too smutty and sleazy, to say nothing of touchy-feely, for my taste.
Curse these tactile topers.
What?
Cease your distress forthwith, damsel Denise, and welcome to our friendly, local redoubt, our cabal of concerned citizens. We shall protect you from these boozy bounders and cads.
We've been talking about you behind your back.
You are not the first.
Anyway, this is Michael. He lives down the Frog.
What? Frog?
Frog and Toad.
Rhyming slang again. Road.
Right. Frog. So, nice to meet you, Michael. I dips me lid to you, governor. You're a real tough.
Quite.
He's a local boy these days. Quit the big smoke for the small smolder, and this small but beautifully proportioned establishment is now a significant part of his happy haunting grounds.
Actually, I quit the Isle of Sheppey. Not exactly a blazing conflagration. For a semi-rustic life of relative ease here in Hertfordshire with the lovely Marion.
You're married?
Not yet, but it is on the agenda. Soonish.
Kay tells me you were a civil servant.
Does she?
Kinda.
You two make a fine pair. You know what Curiosity did.
Sounds.
Kay's been gearing up for a full-scale interrogation. I am not sure I can stand the pressure.
You can.
I will try.
So what did you get up to in the civil service?
In most respects, I probably sunk down to it. Let's get it out in the open.
Sounds like the bar next door.
I worked for British intelligence.
Not just British.
That sounds serious and impressive. British intelligence, eh?
Many would call it a contradiction in terms, but my superiors claim that careless talk lives, so I should probably say no more.
Despite the dangers, you're not exactly dampening my cat-like curiosity. So what was Swaleside like then?
Sorry?
How?
Swaleside. At prison. On Sheppey. You.
Who are you?
This is nothing to do with me.
How do you know about Swaleside? You are not a chance visitor, are you? Did you say anything?
No. Not me. I said nothing. Very little.
How would you know about Swaleside if you just wandered in here by chance?
What's occurring? What's your luck, love?
Look.
What is the game?
Totally in the dark, comrade. It's nothing to do with me. What game on, sweetheart? How about playing it straight now?
This is a rotten balls up on my part. Look. I'm really sorry. I got talking to a bloke in the big bar. Terry. His name was Terry. Local bloke. Think he said he was an engineer. Capstan lathe setter, whatever that is.
One who sets capstan lathes, I would imagine.
Big bloke. Curly hair. Seemed like a nice enough guy at first. Knows you. Apparently Michael. We had a couple together. I believe you've done the same with him at some stage.
Not out of the question.
Just now. We got talking next door. He told me something about your story. Michael told me you were in here. Having a few. Just idle gossip. Secret Service stuff. General stuff. I was intrigued. Got interested. Spies. Naturally enough wanted to know more. That deadly curiosity business again. Thank fuck I'm not a bloody cat.
What?
Curiosity. You know. Cats.
Right. Yeah.
You don't meet an interesting person like yourself every day. I mean. Do you? You've had experiences most of us couldn't even imagine. I've screwed this, haven't I? Should have been straight, and I've made a total prat of myself. A meeting. A chance encounter. Strange pub. I couldn't resist, could I? He left. Terry. Just before I came through. Another appointment. Had to go. Just before things got even sillier and I came through here. Probably just as well he had to go, actually, because he was getting a bit, you know. I'm sorry I was a bit deceptive. My fault, but I'm bloody glad that's over. I'm not really cut out for the secret of I'd rather come clean. I was just fascinated by what Hujama Flip told me. Now I don't know what to say.
I'll be buggered.
That's one possibility.
So who are you?
I'm Denise, right enough. Denise asked. I live down the road in Buckhurst Hill.
Posh.
Not so you'd notice. There's money around, it costs plenty to keep up with the fan shows, but there's not a lot of class or taste.
And you are?
Curious. Toby seemed to think you liked to tell your tale every chance you got. He didn't think you'd mind an audience.
Who?
Terry. Sorry. Not Toby. The bloke next door. I was more interested in your history, Michael. Much more interested in you. It was a sight more interesting. Him. He was called Terry. Sorry. Nice enough bloke, but if you don't mind, I can call you Michael.
Just do not call last order.
Terry thought you liked to, he said you liked to go over the history. Your various biographical exploits, discuss them with like-minded pals when you could.
Well, this has gone seriously weird all of a sudden.
Not too seriously, I hope. Perhaps I should.
Just finish your drink. Have another. Get epic style for all I care. I should be used to this kind of bollocks.
I really am sorry.
Stay. Go. Whatever you fancy. If it's okay with him. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Do not let it worry you.
Would you rather I left?
Not at all. It is all rather jolly fun in an unexpected kind of way. At least we'll be on our
Let me get you both a drink. Make up for my indiscretion earlier. I'd feel a lot better if you let me. Scotch.
Why not? An offer I cannot refuse. Play the music. Cage.
Sorry.
I will have a double.
Oh, look. Okay, cider. But just the half.
Great. I shall return. Again, I am sorry.
Dismiss it from your thoughts. Most of us are sorry at some time or another. Unless you are numbered amongst my former colleagues.
What? That's a weird thing to say. What makes you say that?
Afraid I am a bit weird.
True.
It is the only explanation I've got without advance notice and rehearsal.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I'll just,
Well, I am suspicious as buggery.
Of her. Denise?
None other.
You think she's a phony? In what way?
Every bloody way.
I dunno. You're not being oversensitive?
Hardly ever. Methinks I sent a bullshit. Why is she here? She's given no reason for haunting the hostelries of Ware. I would not trust her further than she could be thrown by half a dozen tin pilchards.
You don't think she's, official?
Do not know about that, but I think we should be very circumspect in our comment in honor of our old friend Justin.
Justin?
Just in case.
Sorry, love. It's like January sales in there. You'd think we were giving it away.
no rush.
You'll be needing a double scotch, I dare say.
And a pint of cider and a house red if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Right up.
Just be discreet. Fortunately, my middle name is Discretion. I've already explained as much to Denise, which, now I think about it, isn't very discreet of me.
Discretion? That's a turn up for the books. It makes you sound like a character, something medieval.
Just a couple of oddballs if you ask me. Kay and Denise. Maybe we've just attracted one another.
Maybe. Isn't it supposed to be opposites that attract?
That's a bit of a bugger, comrade. Maybe we're simply oddball opposites.
I trust our friend over there, Michael, is behaving himself.
The perfect gentleman.
Perfect. Not the description I usually hear about old Michael. Come to think of it, gentleman isn't exactly the word on every lip either.
Trust me, he's fine. Getting a bit mellow, perhaps, but basically fine.
Glad to hear it.
Michael, you should reconsider the biography idea. It really could be of enormous value in the struggle.
Okay. I will think about it, but I've got Marion to factor into the equation, please.
I thought she was solid.
Sound as a bell, but, you know, she visited me 444 times when I was in Swaleside. 444, count them, but she never put her hand up for the species of shitstorm that could ensue from the literary endeavors you propose.
Right.
With all due respect, I still do not think you fully appreciate what an odious bunch of ruthless, self-serving, incompetent, spiteful, duplicitous blackguards you might upset here. To say nothing of the hordes of blithering idiots abounding in this perilous territory, and desperate to shuffle up the greasy pole by any means possible.
Fair enough, fair enough. But you'll think about it.
I shall. Promise. Cross my heart and hope to live.
Thanks, comrade. I wouldn't let you down, or the movement. Thanks.
Lovely. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Cheers.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Well, this is nice.
So what's new in Michael world?
Precious little, and little precious, but I am up for a menial job at the local newsagent.
Really?
Afraid so. Staggers on and gainful employment has to be addressed with some urgency. My options are limited and bills must be paid.
Old bills.
This instance.
Would old bills be paid in coppers?
Nice.
I suspect I won't be paid much more than coppers, but I rather hope that life with the newsagent will be fairly tranquil, if not soporific. And I do not mind telling you, at this stage soporific has considerable appeal.
It does sound a bit, pedestrian, given your, given your colorful, history.
Mercifully it does.
Don't you miss the city, your career, the intrigue, subterfuge, adrenaline, excitement, all that stuff?
You must. All the fun of the big city.
Are you sure you two are not working together?
No way.
I assuredly do not miss being in Her Majesty's prison Swaleside. Not a bit of it, not a brick of it. An outstandingly disagreeable Kazi, I can assure you. I speak as one who has experienced many disagreeable Kazis, that is.
Tell us a story.
Your pardon.
Just between ourselves. Sub Rosa. For fun. Not for publication. Just tell us a story. Adventures.
I'm not sure the word I would have used.
You know you want to.
I'm saying nothing. Stamm.
Go on.
Maybe something funny.
Okay. By public demand. Once upon a time. So, what to report? You know they blew me up?
What?
The Irish. The lads who put the pub in Republican.
What?
You might shut your flapping gob, Michael.
Not much. Not now. You've whipped me into a frenzy of disclosure.
Sounds pornographic.
Sometime those so-called adventures were on the smutty side. Not so much for me, but certainly for some liberal colleagues. By my escapades were far from carnal. In their wisdom the masters of national security scooped me out of Oxford. MI5 loves an upwardly mobile class boy almost as much as an aristocratic clot. And I spent a year buggering in West Germany before the jokers running the show flicked me off to Northern Ireland.
Blimey, this is discreet.
I wrangled some excellent grasses.
What?
Pot?
Grasses, stool pigeons, informants. Grasses, in Mickland. Collaborators with the English oppressors. I used them. Perilous pastime, believe you me. I managed, used, exploited, milked. Dastardly traitors to the Republican movement and, all things considered, if you don't think that was peculiar, well, you don't think.
Not my idea of laughs.
In my experience there was little laughter to be found outside licensed premises. One could safely say these were unusually unsafe and extremely challenging times. Once I had to hide in a bloody cupboard while one of my lads was knee IRA heavies.
Fuck.
Not my finest hour.
Nor his.
Poor bastard. Comrade. How could you?
I learned a lot, and, if it comes to it, I had to turn a blind eye to a lot as well.
How dumb in a cupboard while your mates are butchered, maybe?
And, of course, as I said,
Indiscreetly.
they blew me up. The mix. Car bomb. I don't think it was anything personal, but one can never be entirely sure.
You never know when that lesson will come in handy.
This is not in the least bit bloody discreet, Michael.
Lucky to escape relatively unscathed. Strangely, under the prevailing cirques, I developed a great admiration for the Irish nationalists. And even more contempt for my London overlords.
So I heard. But none of this makes any sense.
I gave no undertaking that anything I say makes sense. Terms and conditions always apply. No guarantees.
You know there's a story going round.
Always is.
There's a story going round that, while you were on remand, you gave the notorious Provisional IRA Quartermaster Brian Keenan details of MI5 Skylarks in Northern Ireland.
Oh, die hard.
They killed innocent people, Michael.
Innocent people always get killed.
Christ knows how many innocent bloody people.
I'm sure Jesus does know.
Exactly, but hardly the subject of levity. Keenan was doing time for heavy-duty bombing offences. They blew you up. They tortured your mate while you hid in a bloody cupboard.
The Republicans had a point. They got a bad deal. The British establishment behaved appallingly, consistently.
How the drinks going?
When you're ready.
I'm fine.
You're obviously on an indiscreet roll, if not a frenzy, so what happened after? Kaboom!
They blew me up and, as a consequence, I slithered up the greasy pole. A couple of years later I was promoted to MI5's Department F.
More bloody initials.
They used to say it stood for Department Fuck All.
Department F. What did that do when it was at home?
It wasn't usually at home, but languishing in the pub. Basically, the job was counterintelligence. Paper shuffling and box ticking, making merry and chasing skirt. Or trouser.
You make it sound as if the whole shebang was counter to all intelligence.
Almost invariably it was. We'd keep a bleary eye on a few Commoner Garden KGB agents, those jolly old Labour Party subversives, unions, the noisier, laugh-a-minute CND thrill-seekers and, of course, merry chums in the Communist Party. Other left-wing outfits got a cursory glance, but they were generally considered a shambolic shower and not worth the effort. Emma. D. Take the weight off your wallet and join us for a convivial beverage.
I'm honored but can't be done, Mr. B. I'm struggling to keep the slavering dogs next door under control.
You can say that again.
Good luck with that. Apparently the dogs were getting a bit frisky earlier with our Denise here.
Really?
It was nothing.
I thought you grabbed a wine and marched straight in here. Excuse me, ladies and potential gent, but I have to keep local traditions going. Jay smoked like a bloody chimney. Pity it didn't do for the slimy bastard, but you never know your luck, it still might.
What actually happened to Jay, M? Is he still lurking around these parts?
Should have topped the rat myself, but he's shacked up with some thick Welsh tart in Northampton, and good riddance to the prick. Feel quite sorry for her. She can't help being thick. Or Welsh. Or in North Bloody Hampton if it comes to that.
Oh,
Sorry.
Fuck him.
Any danger of a double, M?
what are you suggesting, Michael?
Give us a tick.
You two happy?
Happy as a sandboy.
Delirious.
This J business is fucking.
Fucking.
That's life. Weird. Servicing Jay's unhealthy needs is a tradition of the house. A custom of the countryside.
Weird.
Much.
Weird.
Excuse me.
No wonder this bar's deserves that ugly bastard sitting there.
It could easily give you the creeps.
It does.
I'm surprised he's not pissed as a rat the way he chucks it down.
He could be totally rat-assed for all I know. He's had plenty of practice and covers his ass like a pro.
Ass covering seems to be part of the job description in espionage.
Actually, Michael's not half as good at ass covering as he'd like to think. After all, he did more than 15 years porridge and Swaleside for his efforts.
Bet you'd have to cover your ass in there.
Michael just can't keep his gob shut, except when I'm asking the bloody questions. Emma seemed to think you walked in here.
Sorry.
You grabbed your plonk and came straight in here, no messing about. No touchy-feely encounters with mystery bloke. Are you kosher?
Don't make mistakes. She's busy. She got it wrong.
You said you were being hassled by the yobs next door, but Emma behind the bar seemed to think you walked straight in here. I reckon she knows her job. You weren't hanging out. You grabbed a drink and came straight here.
She's a busy woman.
She seemed.
I reckon she just made a mistake. She's got a lot on her plate in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Excuse me again. Nature shrieks.
Consider yourself excused. At least by me.
Very droll.
Look. I'm sorry, Denise. Michael himself says all this spy business makes all people apparently the whole industry is full of wildly suspicious nut jobs, and most are bastards and card-carrying fascist pissheads.
And that's just the nice ones.
Maybe I'm getting infected. I just wanted to write a good book. A good book about bad people, mostly bad people. I just wanted to write a bloody good book.
Sounds incurable.
You could be right.
It happened.
So what do you actually do?
What?
You. What do you do? Yourself. For a crust.
Me?
Can't see anyone else about.
Hope you're not being paranoid, Kay.
Just curious. Possibly paranoid. Would the afflicted actually know if they were paranoid?
Well, if you must know, I'm sort of gigs at the moment. Technically unemployed. I used to be in childcare, but there was no money, far too many children and much too much caring.
So what's a nice Buckhurst Hill girl between gigs doing in this scrawny bourgeois neck of the woods?
Don't kid yourself, kid. Buckhurst Hill can get pretty scrawny and bourgeois.
Don't doubt that. Here he is. Say nothing. He works for British intelligence.
Not anymore, my dear. Those spook days are well and truly done.
You were a spook and now you're resurrected.
What?
From being a spook.
Dead, but I won't lie down, might be more appropriate.
Bit like your buddy Jesus.
Blasphemy ill becomes you, comrade.
At very little risk of eternal damnation, a load of old bollocks ill becomes you, comrade.
Perhaps we should move on.
Perhaps we should.
Any refresh?
I'm fine.
Happy as a little piggy in poop.
Well, that's a mercy.
Is there anything positive you can say about the intelligence service, Michael?
Nothing springs readily to mind.
Travel. Meeting people.
About as much travel as a bus conductor and the people one tended to meet were as about as beguiling as drunk bus passengers, after closing time on a Saturday night.
Has anything positive actually been accomplished by this spy lot?
Not much. Certainly not for our side. And I use the word our with disturbing and somewhat shameful looseness.
Say what?
Say more.
Are you two ganging up on me?
Of course.
Okay. Okay. Big picture stuff.
Love a big picture.
Not the 10 Commandments, I hope.
Be silent, Harridan, or I'll clam up like a clam.
That'd make a change.
Are you sitting comfortably?
Not particularly.
I'll begin anyway. You've heard of J. Edgar Hoover?
Inventor of the vacuum cleaner.
Wasn't he some kind of top American cop and drag queen?
So it is said, and, on behalf of American cousins, he was also the first director of the FBI.
A bastard then.
Never knew the chap, but I doubt it not. So there was a randy little Serb called Dusko Popov, putting it about during World War II.
Putting what about?
Pretty much everything, himself, potential invisible ink, disinformation. The promiscuous little sod was supposed to be part inspiration for 00 seaman James Bond.
Him again.
None other. Popov hated the Nazis, infiltrated their intelligence service and funneled them, and others, stacks of largely unhelpful secret nonsense throughout the war. One crate of information was not the usual nonsense. A Kraut agent called Jebsen passed a massive info to Popov to cut an interminable story insufficiently short. He realized that the Japs were going to bomb Pearl Harbor and roughly when they were going to do it.
You don't say.
I do. Popov, theoretically working for the Hun, defected to British intelligence and, in its wisdom, British intelligence sent Popov to deliver the Pearl Harbor tip-off to Mr. Hoover in the States.
But
Hoover loathed Popov on sight, refused to believe a word he said, wanted him thrown in the slammer, refused to act on any information he passed on.
But why? Why so hostile?
We're not entirely sure. Apart from being a bully and a first-rate self-serving clot, it seems Mr. Hoover had a particular mindless dislike for Serbs. Whatever else Mr. Popov was, he was undoubtedly a Serb. I believe our friend John Edgar suffered from what the doctors call oafish bellicosity.
Who?
What the F?
Nothing, nothing. Let it go. The Japs bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, pretty much as predicted by Popov. The Yanks, completely unprepared for the explosive fracas, stormed into World War II. The rest, as they say, is history.
You are kidding.
I kid you not.
I've never heard of this.
It's known, but hardly the hot conversational topic about every stylish Stepney dinner table.
I don't actually live in Stepney.
Be grateful for small mercies.
Why didn't he get the sack? Hoover. I mean, why wasn't he punished, disgraced, chucked out, jailed, at world-class level of catastrophic balls up?
Usual tactics. Lies, lies and more lies. Deny everything. Cover tracks, dress up as Mae West. Shred the documents. Flatter the bigwigs and top brass. Hammer the underlings.
No surprise there.
Blame the foreign devils. Standard stuff.
Incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
I mean, people died.
They certainly did.
It was global war for fuck's sake.
God, I need a drink. Thirsty work this nattering. You too.
Fine.
Fine.
Excuse me, ladies.
Has someone come in?
Do you think he chucks it down like this all the time?
To be honest, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised if he did. He's had a lot of practice.
Holds it well.
Vice-like grip.
Seems to have become quite the local character.
The not very secret agent of where?
Where?
Pretty much everywhere, really.
Any danger, M?
Wait your turn, Matter Harry.
Charmed, I'm sure.
All this not the slightest Secret Service stuff, it's a bloody education.
'Tis that.
No idea.
Not secret, very little service.
This book of yours.
It's not looking all that likely right now. Michael has some serious problems.
I'd noticed.
Seriously. He's got problems with the book scheme and claims he just wants to live the quiet life and get some kind of a job. Claims he's not interested in the publicity and doesn't want the shit.
Tar, bloody mad Harry.
No change then.
Anything else?
Sadly, no. My companions remain depressingly moderate in their need for refreshment.
Pleased to see it's not holding you back though, Michael.
I strive to compensate for their niggardly demands.
Which reminds me. One more tradition of the house to attend to, if you'll excuse.
Some traditions count for something.
This one keeps my hostility simmering nicely.
I think we might be about to experience yet one more peculiar tradition of the house.
What?
I have no real idea. I strongly suspect it has something to do with friend Jay over there.
I'll brace myself.
Ditto. Trouble is, I don't want to miss anything and I'm dying for a pee.
Might be preferable to dying for a cause.
I'm disappointed in you, comrade.
Join the queue. But I don't believe we'll have long to wait for the next Jay installment.
Can't say I much fancy fighting my way through next door's testosterone swamp. Do you think I could get away with a quick slash in the gents there?
My lips are sealed.
Mine won't be if I don't take a leak soon.
Let's keep it nice.
With reference to lavatorial activities, the Spanish Inquisition couldn't wring the detail from me.
I'm beginning to suspect that a wall ball could wring information from you, Michael. You leak like a sieve.
Hope you go down with cirrhosis. Twat.
Well,
Also well.
Interesting tradition.
nice.
Also nice.
No love lost there then.
Not a great deal.
Can't wait, gotta pee.
Not a lot of customers for that bog, given the big gang of geezers pissing it up next door.
There's a bigger gents in there. Near the ladies.
Oh. Right.
Gang of geezers in there even know there's an alternative.
Right.
Or care.
Right.
The big one's got one of those noisy air dryers they can play with. It's Mrs. Emma Morris's concession to modernity.
Nice. I'm kinda surprised they're not popping into Ogildenese.
There is that.
You still suspicious of her?
You can bet your sweet bippy.
Can I? That's nice. What is a bippy?
No idea, but apparently you have one, and should you wish, it can be used to make wagers.
Peculiar.
Yank nomenclature, I suspect. They have no respect. Come to think of it, nor do I.
Ditto. This J business is bloody weird.
It takes all sorts.
You still suspicious of Emma?
Somewhat.
And, seriously, you've got your doubts about Denise?
Does the pontiff wear amusing headgear?
What?
Nothing. Yes. I am mildly suspicious of Emma, and more so of Denise. Always suspicious. Yes,
You said you'd give me some tips for the book.
I did.
What sort of tips did you have in mind?
You are bloody persistent, young lady.
A small tip? You did say you would. And you'd do it gladly.
Indeed, I did say that, but not at this precise moment. Not while everyone pretends to be off duty and having a jolly good time.
Something to wet.
Try cider.
What about the Cambridge 5?
What?
You know what I'm talking about.
I'm an Oxford man myself, and care little for those Cambridgeshire clods.
No juicy tidbits.
It's all common knowledge. Well, most of it. There must be more dreadful books on the wretched subject than on bloody Shakespeare. Can't the sympathetic Ray Braithwaite slip you a few quid to buy the odd tome? Pub libraries have much to recommend them, I'm told.
Did you know any of the 5 personally?
How old do you think I am? I was barely out of bloody nappies when the whole fiasco started popping out.
It was huge news, I know that. Massive. There must have been gossip. Surely. Stories flying around the corridors of power. Rumors. Burgess, McLean, Kim Philby, that whole bunch. To say nothing of Blunt.
It's often best to say nothing of Blunt. There was gossip, for sure, but the fact is that I probably know little more of the accurate detail than you. You've clearly done some research.
Can't you just tell me what you do know of the accurate stuff? Make me think I'm not just getting off my face for the sake of it.
Now you mention it.
Not for me, thanks.
Parched punters here, Em.
Christ, he's being difficult.
In what way?
He just won't open up. He's well known for gibbering on about his time with intelligence, and he just won't tell me a fucking thing. Even common knowledge shit. Story.
He only does it to annoy, because he knows it teases.
What?
You should speak roughly to him. He might open up.
What are wittering on about, Denise?
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
That's apt.
Speak roughly to your little boy, and beat him when he sneezes. Does it to annoy, because he knows it teases. Maybe it's good advice. Who knows? Give Michael a bit of stick. Treat him rough. He's more than half blotto, so maybe you can bully him into coughing up something interesting.
I just asked for a story.
About?
It's old news. Common bloody knowledge. Might just get him going. I just thought we could talk about the Cambridge spy ring. Burgess, McLean, Philby, that bunch. It's common bloody knowledge, for Christ's sake.
Even I've heard of them.
Exactly.
He is kinda like a little boy. Michael. A little boy playing grown-up games.
Even after all the crap he's been through, he is kinda like a kid.
Don't sweat it, Kay. We'll get him yakking. Says he's got verbal diarrhea. The fella in the bar said it. Terry. If we stick together, sister, we'll have Michael singing like a canary.
Talk would do. Michael's singing might be a bit.
Shithouse.
Something like that.
What did you make of that latest J business? The beer he doesn't drink, the whole bloody thing. I've never seen anything quite like it.
According to the experts, there's nought so queer as folk.
Now's about right.
Trust no one.
I won't.
I wonder what Emma would do if we quietly drank Jay's piss and denied everything.
I shudder to think.
I do that sometimes.
Emma would probably freak out.
She doesn't seem much like the sort to freak out, but you never know.
Speak roughly, sister.
You're on.
Ladies.
You got me one.
True.
Are you trying to get us pissed?
What else?
We've got to get home tonight. The trains will be like a Roman orgy on Saturday night.
There is that. Maybe we could share a taxi.
You are bloody kidding.
Just to Buckhurst Hill. You could stay at my place.
Thanks, we'll see.
Good scheme, comrades.
Right. To make up for your gross male indifference to our wishes with the drinks, you've got to pay a penalty.
Done that. Much of my life's been a bloody penalty. Paid in full.
Not to us. Tell us about the Cambridge 5.
Not that again.
Story.
Story.
Please, have mercy, don't.
Cambridge 5. Cambridge 5.
Cambridge
5.
We have no idea who's listening.
Then tell us quietly. Just surrender. Come on, Michael.
You know you want to.
We've got you outnumbered.
Make it easy on yourself.
Okay. In short, they were just a bunch of spies. Double agents siphoning British intelligence to the Soviets during the war. Posh, pompous windbags for the most part. It was somewhat odd for people claiming to be devoted Marxist-Leninists. It seems they were recruited by Sir Anthony Blunt, among other activities in the spy and other territories. Worked for HM Queen, keeping a bleary eye on her acclaimed art collection. Blunt was dropped in the shite by a Yank he'd recruited, ironically named Straight, and the distinguished Sir Anthony confessed to everything in exchange for immunity from prosecution.
More than they offered you, Michael.
Rather less in many respects. No doubt that was one of the many advantages of Blunt being perceived as an upper-class, establishment twit. In the early 60s, a KGB defector called Golitsyn informed on McLean and Burgess, both usually stewed to the gills, and everybody's pal Kim Philby, Golitsyn also claimed that our beloved Prime Minister Darling Harold Wilson was a KGB agent.
Darling?
That's what Alf Garnett calls him. Darling Harold. On the television. Don't you watch the television, Kay?
I can't. Harold Wilson, eh?
Doubt the Ruskies would stoop that low.
There were plenty of other names flying around as double agents. Suspicion certainly fell on a busload more than 5. There was even a suggestion that the 3rd Baron Rothschild was in on the fun.
Bullshit.
And that was the story doing the rounds.
This is all very Noddy's book of naughty spies. Headline crap. Got anything fresh and juicy for us?
Nope.
Was there anyone who was a bloody agent?
Two rogue eccentrics perhaps, but speaking of doubles.
No more, Michael. Not for me.
Or me.
We've hardly touched this lot. This speaking roughly lark isn't exactly producing stunning results.
When you are ready, my darling.
Call that rough. I've heard rougher stuff at kindergarten.
I don't want to put him offside. I need his cooperation for the book.
He's already offside, isn't he?
You could say that. At least he's talking.
Slurring a bit.
Not surprising. Thanks for the crash pad offer.
Pleasure.
Didn't expect to end up in Buckhurst Hill, but hey, life's full of surprises.
You can say that again.
I mean, the thing is, comrade, I'm pretty baffled. Your whole story is swarming with baffling shit. I mean, you started out as a bloody Nazi for Christ's sake.
Not for his sake, but yes, I did.
Just put it down to ignorance. By all accounts, you used to goose step around the pubs of Oxford's Nazi bollocks, clicking your heels and singing the Horst Wessel song. It pissed people off a treat.
It did that.
So what's the story?
More to the point, what the flying fuck's a Horst Wessel? It sounds like something Germans keep a horse in.
He was a scumbag Nazi hero, a young martyr to the cause.
That doesn't explain.
Berlin comrades bashed the bastard to death in the 30s, and the resulting song became the Nazis' anthem.
Shitty song.
It had its moments.
You must be kidding.
The flag is high, our ranks are closed, the SA marches with silent solid steps. Comrades shot by the Red Front and reaction march in spirit with us in our ranks.
Oh sweet Jesus.
The street is free for the brown battalions, the street is free for the stormtroopers. Millions full of hope. Jesus Christ! Down! Down! Hit the bloody deck! On the floor! Quick!
Nobody move. This is a up.
I am not fucking joking. Get down and shut up. Take cover.
Calm down, you dopey buggers.
Don't like this. Just keep still. Do nothing.
Grow up, you wankers. Take it easy for fuck's sake.
Keep down. Don't move.
It's just that bloody crap fuse box. Just don't get your knickers in a knot. Take it easy, it's not the bloody Russians.
More worried about the bloody British.
What's going on here? Are we up shit creek?
Like the River Lee. Same difference.
Michael. I'm shitting myself.
Michael, Denise would appear to be shitting herself.
What's going down, Michael?
Nothing to worry about, ladies and gents. Give us a tick. I'll flip the and let there be light.
left, technically. Which is